Hello and welcome back to NoBS. Today we return to talking about our favorite show and favorite cartoon, none other than South Park. They've recently been attacked by a journalist again, and you probably can already guess what's going on. There's a character and a certain storyline that's gotten them offended, and these journalists tend to go after South Park from time to time. This is something we've covered before too. Calling South Park offensive. We covered it a few months ago when a reporter said they ruined a generation and made everyone just not care, made us all nihilistic and stuff, which really isn't true. That's not the point of South Park. South Park's real point is to give you guys moral lessons and to teach you kinds of hypocrisies and calling people out and having fun too. And also political commentary is a big part of it. And today we're going to talk about a certain character that's gotten their eye and gotten them to call South Park racist. This is a character from the superhero series that's on South Park. It also got a video game, in fact. The video game for South Park was called The Fractured But Whole. That was actually their second major video game from the recent era, a sequel to the Stick of Truth. But there's been many other South Park games, but these are like the last two, and these are two that the writers and creators really got motivated on and they got really invested in. They wrote the story, and if you play through these video games, it's like a couple episodes or even like watching a season of South Park. They're really good. Fractured But Whole is the sequel. It came out a couple years back, and when it did, it was tied into the show because first it was on the show previously in a couple episodes a few years before. And whenever South Park went around to making their next video game, they decided to go with a superhero theme. So they brought those characters back in another episode. We covered that episode and we talked about the game before at the time. And now it's coming back again because of one of the characters. Cartman's character has become controversial, and you'll see why in this tweet, and then we'll talk about it some more. It's called Games Journalist. It's a tweet, someone responding here. It says, "Hey, remember when South Park did a game where Cartman called himself a racial slur for black people the whole game, and it was not mentioned once in any coverage from any major outlet? Wait, what? Cartman's character in the Fractured But Whole was the coon. Yeah, okay." Okay, this is good. This is funny. First of all, it's just showing this guy's had this in the back of his head. This is a games journalist saying this, a check mark on Twitter. You know, they've got a lot of clout on the left wing circles, and we know that they're PC and they don't like things like South Park. South Park is funny and they're edgy, and the writers are very strong and like they're not scared about backlash and stuff. You know, they go for whatever. And I really don't think this is actually something they were going for at all. I think this is a misinterpretation, like a purposely they're trying to make it racist. Possibly there could have been like an underlying joke there, but let's break it down. Okay, so we're talking about this character right here. You could see Cartman dressed up as the coon, and he's obviously like a raccoon themed superhero. And the claim here is that that's a racial slur. And yes, there is a racial slur if you just take that latter half of raccoon. And a lot of times that was something that was used to slander black people, you know, to slam them. That was a racial slur against them. But this is a different situation. I mean, first of all, South Park never even hinted at or implied any kind of racism. Like they never addressed this in the show. It was just a raccoon and he called himself the coon. And if it happens to be a slur too, that's true. I mean, that's the thing, but that's not why South Park did it. Now, I know these guys are smart, and that probably part of the reason, like secretly or like underlying, they were like, okay, it is kind of funny that it also is a slur. I'm sure that went through their minds. I'm not doubting that, but the point is that was never addressed in the show. It was never outright, oh, this is a joke about black people. You know, there was no reference to him being about black people, or the line was like there was no joke where they said something and he said it to a black person. Like they never reference it. It's just like I said, like underlying, like possibly in the back of their heads. But as far as the actual thing in the show, I think it was just a funny thing, and it's just funny when Cartman says it too. He says it like the coon, you know, he has that accent where he's like coon, kind of like when he's like Cal, you know, he has that funny voice, and the way he says it is funny. So the point, and the greater point is, it was never really racially motivated in the show. They never referenced that or used that joke. So that would be actually possibly questionable if that was there. But really, it was never mentioned, and probably just some very, very subtle subtext. And the next part is, you know, this is just about a raccoon. It's not hurting anybody. I mean, raccoon, people have called that term many times. Like, it's not just used as a racial slur. It's just really kind of, I think this might have been bait. That's why I said it was subtle subtext. Like, I'm pretty sure South Park might have gone with this as a bait. Like, oh, let's see if we could get any SJWs to call this out. Let's see if any of the Puritans are going to be really triggered by this, because that's what these kinds of artists do. They're trying to be provocative and come up with things that are funny and edgy, and it's hilarious. I mean, that's why it's cool, and that's why, this episode was good and the video game was good. And this guy doesn't seem to notice, like, he thinks this, I don't know, it doesn't seem like he's can tell this character had been around for years. Like I was mentioning in the intro, this wasn't just for the game. He was in episodes before the game, and they had a whole story arc and multiple episodes, and then they brought the characters back when the game came out for like another reintroduction and like kind of promotion. And the most I can remember about those episodes offhand is the one where they brought him back. It was really funny, and what happened was it was like the Netflix episode from, I believe it came out in 2017 or 2018. I'm not sure exactly which one it was, but so the game came out in 2017, and that was also the time, like right before the game was released, South Park did an episode with these characters again, kind of like a pre-introduction to the show. And the premise was this: essentially, that episode, it was these kids have these superhero characters, and they're trying to turn it into a TV show. And they call Netflix and say, we have these characters, we want to make a show. And then they start goofing on Netflix in that episode of South Park. Netflix basically will make any show at this point. It was the height of Netflix. They're still like this. They make shows about everything, and they really don't turn anything down. It's just like they make crap. They make a lot of crap at Netflix. And that was the joke. And then the kids are trying to make their show about it, and they get some problems with that there. And, yada, yada, yada. That's a basic premise that you need to know. And I think, yeah, there was no reference, like there's no racial element. Like I said, the whole character, Cartman's character, his superhero character, this raccoon persona, if you will, it wasn't ever referencing racial things. Like, it wasn't used in racy jokes. It was just that he was a raccoon and he shortened it to the coon. And then it happened to be related to that. There might be some subtext there. It's very subtle, but still, as we were saying, not offensive, not racist. And the fact that this journo is going to go after that is just very, very petty. And it just shows that that really stuck with him. And, all these years later, over 3 years later, and, he's still kind of thinking about it. And then on top of that, of course, this is all coming from the current events. We're talking about lots of protests, lots of riots, lots of crazy stuff going on in America, which was sparked by a racialized event in Minneapolis. Now, that original event didn't have any proven racism, but the media and the news and everyone race baited it anyway. And that's what's turned into where we are today, where now we're talking about all these media properties getting attacked, people going through old episodes, trying to get these shows canceled. Like, make no mistake, this kind of attack, it might seem like a small tweet, but that guy was kind of testing the water, seeing how far he could go. Maybe it's going to turn into an article, maybe a full-fledged a campaign to take down South Park. Who knows? Everything's under blast right now. Everything's getting attacked. Typically, recently, it's been like, oh, they're going after these cop-related shows, and then, they're going after shows and characters with cops and movies and stuff like that. And in addition, the racial element is part of it too. So now anything that has a hint of racism or having to do with race, or in this case, just a word that happens to reflect on another word, that's racialized in some instances. I mean, I think that racial slur, the one that we're in question today, like, it's really rarely used. It's not really common. It's not like most people even know that term. That's like an old term that I haven't really seen used legitimately ever. Like, I don't even know if it was ever used once in like the last 10 years. But regardless, South Park is under fire. The race baiting and the kind of the race hustle is on the way, and they're trying to find stuff that's racist. Media is in trouble. All this stuff is happening across the board, and it's really messed up. It's coming after something that we love, our shows, our video games, our comics, and stuff like that. And that's why people need to be worried. That's why we need to step up and make videos like this and kind of say, hey, no, we need to stop. We need to draw a line somewhere and make sure that they can't just keep coming and keep, race baiting and making up stuff and digging up stuff. This is like cancel culture at its worst. And it really shouldn't be coming from these kinds of people like this journalist that tweeted this. I mean, they're not like the worst person in the world, but they're using their power for bad. They're like looking at people and like judging them, sitting on an ivory tower when we know they're not better than any of us. We know that they're just race hustlers. They're just trying to make money off of clicks, clickbaiting, all that kind of stuff is involved here. And it really needs to stop. That about wraps things up. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you like South Park and what you saw today, make sure you hit the like button and also comment your thoughts on everything below. Let's see what you think about this story and other stories. Recommend us new ideas for new videos and all that fun stuff. Comment it all below. Hit the like button, subscribe, notification bell, email me something fun, join the Patreon, go to PayPal too. Hey, why don't you maybe become a YouTube member? All kinds of cool options below. Check out the description. Until next time, you guys have a great day. Let me just take a quick moment to talk to you about my second channel. I recently relaunched and revamped No Bullshit 2, and it's now called NoBS News. I'm going to be doing new videos on there almost every day on weekdays, and then weekends we're going to be doing more live streams. So make sure you guys check out that second channel. There's already like say 10 or 12 more videos on there for you to check out right now. So if you want more content, search NoBS News on YouTube or click the link below this video.